Hey YouTube, it's Jessie. I'm back with another video. So this is a sit-down talking video, which is quite new for my channel, but I will be doing it more often. So basically this video is answering the question, how did you learn Korean? So if you don't know, I speak Korean. I don't know why, but I'm a bit embarrassed about it and a bit shy. I have a lot of Korean friends and, you know, their goal is to always get me to speak Korean to them, and when I do, it's kind of like, oh, you're good. But yeah, so I speak Korean. So I studied Korean when I first came to Toronto, and it was about 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And I took a class with an amazing professor. He was awesome, he was hilarious, and he actually used K-pop music videos and Korean dramas to help teach us modern, everyday kind of sayings in Korean. So example of one thing is the 4-minute song, 이름이 뭐예요? He used that song to help us teach that saying, and then kind of showed us what situations to use it in, the different formalities, all that. And so my entire first year of university in Toronto, I took that Korean class, and I did not do as well as I wanted. However, I did get a decent grade. I do not do well with testing, with like writing tests. I'm actually a lot better verbally answering questions, you know, verbally speaking what I know. So I did not take the second year Korean. However, I did appreciate everything that I had learned in that year, and I kept in touch with my professor. So yes, that was how I first started learning Korean. Now, as I mentioned, I did not do well, so I obviously did not learn as much as I should have. I did not study diligently, I didn't study hard enough, so what I did is, after I finished that class, I went and I found a website. There's so many websites for learning Korean now because of the Hallyu wave, or the popularity of Korean culture. And the website I found was actually howtostudykorean.com. And that was the one that worked best for me because it actually has lesson plans. And it goes from like lesson 0 to I think 123, and it teaches you the Korean grammar, which is really important when you're texting or when you're typing in Korean, and also sometimes when you're speaking as well. So I used that and I followed the lesson plans, and I think I made it up to like 70 or 80. I stopped once I got a bit busier, but it helped me kind of refresh my memory and practice the basics and learn some new grammar as well. And then I also helped organize a Korean English language exchange in Toronto. It's quite popular actually, very popular, and I would go there every Friday, and I would get to talk to some Koreans who were here on a working holiday visa or a student visa, or just here visiting, and I made some Korean friends who would help me with my language skills as well. So yeah, I started with like class, then, you know, self-study, and then with friends. I guess this video is not going to be long. I'm not going to make it like a full 15-minute video how I learned Korean, like, because I mean, it's not that hard to learn, you just have to put in the work, if you get what I'm saying. I think what helped me the most when I was learning Korean was actually meeting my Korean friends and kind of talking with them as much as possible in Korean. And, you know, eventually it got to a point where my friends would just speak to me in Korean, and I would, you know, reply in Korean, or I would just reply in English if I'm really tired and can't think. And I definitely think if you're trying to learn like casual conversational Korean, it's better to start with friends or with language exchange, and then kind of work your way up. But if you're looking for more like, oh, I want to live in Korea for a little bit, then I would start with the website I had mentioned earlier, the How to Study Korean, just because it's really, really good and it lays out all the information that you need about the language. So, should I speak in Korean? I feel like, because the people watching this, for the viewers watching this, I bet that you're not fluent in Korean, and that's why you're wondering like, oh, how I learned. And one thing I do have to say about that is not everyone learns the same way. So some people learn with books and some people learn better with interaction. So for me, I learn better with interaction, with meeting the Korean people and meeting my friends and talking to them in Korean, because that's just the best way I memorize. However, if you're someone who feels like you can memorize books, I would definitely stick with the website. It's really good. Oh, and a tip is, if you are one of the people who watch the Korean dramas, there's a couple Korean dramas that you've probably seen a million times. My suggestion is to actually watch them without English subtitles and see how much you can follow along. Because eventually, if you watch the drama a lot, you actually start to memorize kind of what they're saying and the idea of what they're saying. So watching it without the subtitles, it kind of helps you put the idea of what they're saying to the Korean words, if that makes sense. So I know for me, I don't watch shows with English subtitles anymore. I kind of gave up on that just because not a lot of the ones I watch are subtitled. So that's a good tip for practicing.
Drop that. Give me that. So.
인사할 거예요. Gonna do my introduction. 안녕하세요. 저는 제스예요. 저는 한국 이름은 보라예요. 그리고 한국인 친구 많이 있어요. 그래서 한국어를 공부했어요. 제가 토론토에 살아요. 근데 부모님은 엘머에 살아요. 그래서 토론토에서 혼자 살아요. 잠깐만. Don't know what to say. 그리고 가나다 사람이에요. 저는 21살이에요. 제가 한국어를 2년 동안 공부했어요. 그래서 열심히 연습해야 돼요. 제가 한국에 너무 아주 가고 싶어요. 왜냐면 한국인 친구가 한국에 살아요. 네. 반갑습니다. Sorry for awkwardness. Should I speak louder? I feel like I'm too quiet when I speak in Korean. 안녕하세요. 저는 제시예요. 저는 21살이에요. That's so basic. But I hope you enjoy it. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and be sure to check out more videos. Goodbye.